Hello, everyone. I am Keela B, and this is my testimony. So, Honest to God Movement. I'm going to share how I became Honest to God Movement. Back in 2022, I answered my calling. I said yes to God. When I said yes to everything. I'm like, okay, God, have your way. Um, and he asked me, like, can you just be honest with me? And that's all I require of you. Just to be honest, be willing and obedient to my call. Whenever I ask, say yes. Whenever I show you, say yes. And then whenever you have something to say it to me. Whenever you have thoughts, say them to me. Whether or not it's in your heart, your mind, or out loud. And so I started to be honest with God. And that's what he required of me, to be honest with him and my feelings and my thoughts and how I saw things, like what I saw, what I was hearing, like what I was experiencing. It was that I was being honest with God in everything through it all. And I started recording all of my honest to God moments. And it became a thing. And I'm like, okay, God, why do you have me recording these things? Like, and I've recorded for a very long time. And so he's like, I have you doing this because I now need you to be honest to me publicly. Like, I need you to show forth me through your words, through your actions, through the things that you deal with, like your testimony. You have to share this with the world. And at first I was like, okay, that really means like people gonna know me. Like they gonna finally be able to hear from me. They're gonna be able to hear me. And my prayer began to be, God, when they hear me, when they see me, that they don't see me, they don't hear me, but that they hear you. And that's what's happened. Like, I think about all of the things that I've gone through. I shared on my podcast that my very first memory was at 18 months old. And at 18 months old, I remember my father's funeral. I remember the casket. I remember being crossed over the casket, passed over the casket. It's like a tradition that they used to do. Oh, the children won't have nightmares, blah, 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 whatever. Um, but I remember my father's funeral, and that's the only memory I have of him, is him laying there in the casket. And I remember being outside, and the funeral was outside at the gravesite. I remember my grandmother holding me. I remember my mom crying um, while my brother sat beside her crying. Like, I remember these things. I remember what people had on. Like, I remember me and my sisters. Like, I remember the two guys that were standing on the side of the casket. And my family doesn't talk about my dad. They don't talk about the funeral. They didn't talk about these things growing up. And they wondered, like, how do you know these things? And my answer has always been, I don't know, until I found out, like, you know what? It's really God who had me remember that. And I know he had me remember that so that I could understand, one, who I am, but most importantly, understand who my father is. Not even my biological father, not even my birth father. I mean, like God, my father, Abba Father. And in the midst of learning God, learning myself, I began to know who my father was. Because it was always a thing. It was always like, God, I want to know my dad. I want to know my dad. And it was hard. It was rough. It was rough growing up. Even sometimes still it's rough because like my dad's birthday is always around Father's Day. It either falls on Father's Day or like the day before, the day after, somewhere within that date. And so it's always rough. Like, he passed away on my sister's birthday, my oldest sister's birthday. And so it's always a thing, like, woo. Um, but going through life, Like, I'm 34, I'll be 35 in August, and going through my entire life, I have I've been shown so much of God quietly. Like, I've been quiet. I've seen a lot. I'm a church girl, so I've been like, I mean, churchy, like church, like stay at church longer than you stay with family, like church, right? And I've seen a lot of preachers, pastors, teachers, ministers, apostles, bishops, prophets that mishandled the mantle, that mishandled the charge. And I looked at everything from a distance and was like, man, that is not of God. I can remember sitting in my bedroom as a kid. I know I wasn't the only child, but I was the only child in the house. Um, and I spent a lot of time with God. I read my Bible, even if I couldn't understand it, if I couldn't say the words, I'm like, you know, it's just say whatever you think it sounds like. Um, but I can remember writing and reading and highlighting in my Bible as a kid. And it's like I could choose to play with whatever, doll babies, or I had Nintendo. I had a Nintendo. So it's like the gray one, too, by the way. It's old school. Anyway, I could have chose to do anything else, but I spent that time with God, and He really helped me understand who I am, and it's really caused me to live out loud now. Before, no, I kept my thoughts to myself. Like, I see things, I hear things, and I just keep it moving. And I pray, you know, I have that conversation with God, or I journal. I do a lot of journaling, a lot of writing, a lot of singing. I sing my way through a lot of thoughts that I have. And so throughout it all, God has taught me to just be honest with Him, with everything, with every fiber of my being, being honest to Him. And that looks like, okay, God, I have this thing that is against you and I need your help because I can't do it in my own strength. Or, God, this person has done this. I've seen this in them. And I still love them because of you. I have the love of the Lord. You taught us through your son that we are to still love. And so, yes, I still love them. I forgive them. But help me with my feelings about this thing. Like, I feel like this. This doesn't feel good. I don't like it. I don't want it. And I began to just be truly honest with everything, about everyone. And it's caused me to have a deeper connection and a deeper relationship with God, and help me grow in my faith and grow in all that He's called me to do. And honest to God movement is more than just a thing for me. It's more than just a moment. Like, I have all of these moments of honesty, but it's become a lifestyle. It's become a brand. It's become a business. It's become a coaching. It's become a teaching. It's become like an example. It's so much like, my prayer is always, God, move me out of the way. You have your way. I invite you into every space that I have and everything that I'm doing. I invite you here with whatever it is. God, move me out of the way. And you see me through it. I've watched the hand of God handle and fight my battles for me, with me being silent, with me being quiet, with the things that I thought, or my fleshly way of handling things. Like, I didn't let that happen. Oftentimes we fight battles thinking that it's a natural thing, and it's not. We don't fight against flesh and blood. And I've had to master that by way of just being honest to God. And so this is a part of my testimony. I am sharing a lot of my testimony on my podcast, and we're going through a sequence of like every day. I have so many postings, like so many videos, um, of day to day things, especially within this last year. So catch me talking about it, going through this life story. It's really interesting to hear. I'll say that. Uh, But thank you for this opportunity to share who I am, share my testimony. This is my honest to God moment. So thank you.